Hello, everyone. Dr. Ames here. This time I'd like to talk to you briefly about counterproductive work behaviors. Usually, these are the things and behaviors that we see expressed when people really just don't have a high amount of job satisfaction in the workplace. Uh, it results in the common things that we could easily identify as counterproductive behaviors: tardiness, absenteeism, uh, shirking responsibility, purposely doing less than you're capable of, having an attitude on purpose that makes it difficult for people to work with you, and so forth. All of these things result from a lack of job satisfaction. But sometimes it goes even farther and into these categories that you see here. And so we always want to be careful of these behaviors. These are a few that we should mention. Uh, when it comes to some of the worst counterproductive behaviors, of course, violence is the extreme, but mistreatment of others is so prevalent, depending on your organizational culture. This really does cover a lot of territory. It includes things like bullying at work, sexual harassment between and among employees, general unfairness, um, people who have their own agenda and who definitely have low job satisfaction and who are disruptive in the workplace because of their cognitive dissonance issues. So they're constantly looking for a new job, or they're bad mouthing their boss, or they're complaining that they're not treated fairly, or they're complaining that top management doesn't like them. All of these things really are mistreatment of your fellow workers because you're not there to hear each other complain and to have this sort of thing going on. You're there to do the work of the organization, obviously. The worst expression of counterproductive work behaviors, besides the common things that I've mentioned, is this idea of violence at work. Um, Sometimes you can somewhat predict this sort of thing, depending on circumstances that happen at work. Um, but let's be realistic here. You never really know when mindless violence is going to strike. And this is characteristic of American culture. Uh, we tend to solve a lot of our problems. The first approach is a violent one, an aggressive response to situations and things we don't like. And it does seem that sometimes this violence comes out as revenge at work and so forth. Um, Dealing with counterproductive work behaviors is a real challenge for managers. It falls into that managerial area of controlling issues, of dissent, and working with things when they aren't going right. And it's not necessarily the most fun part of any manager's job. But as an organization, companies can really set mechanisms in place to deal with some of these misalignments of values and some of the attitudes and behaviors that come out of this sort of thing. Um, and so companies provide mechanisms like suggestion boxes and suggestion programs. Smart companies will make these things anonymous and so forth in whatever way that they can. It could be a hotline where you can leave a message. There could be many things that you could do as a company to let people express themselves, because quite often management may not always know what is at the root of these sorts of behaviors. Is it something the individual has brought with them to the organization, or is it something that was there already and we just haven't noticed it before? So we do want to be careful with these sorts of things, but we have to deal with these issues. Um, and so if you get taken to court and sued by someone who says that you have created a hostile work environment by the types of conditions and the people who work there and the way they act and behave, certainly if you have mechanisms in place for people to place suggestions, a program or procedure in place, a policy, in other words, that if someone feels sexually harassed, that you can start a process that initiates an investigation into the charges, and that indeed the company takes it seriously. As a organization, if you take these sorts of things seriously, that you have mechanisms in place, and then you follow the mechanisms and you let them play out neutrally, then if you ever end up in court, you're going to probably win the case. And this is generally what happens in things that are a result of legal activity due to counterproductive work behaviors. If you fire someone, terminate them over some counterproductive work behaviors, they in turn sue you. If you demonstrate that you've done all your due diligence as an organization, then you can certainly say, we've tried everything we could to avoid this. And generally, the court is going to side with you. Okay, folks, that's all I wanted to talk about this time. I'll talk to you.